When you lose everything, people start disappearing. When life is going well, everything feels full. Your phone doesn't stay silent for long. People reply faster, they laugh louder, they show up without being asked. You start feeling like you are surrounded by loyalty, like you matter deeply in everyone's life. But success has a hidden illusion. It makes you believe people are there for you, when in reality, many are there for the version of you that is winning. The moment life shifts, everything starts changing silently. It doesn't happen with arguments or explanations, it happens with distance. Replies get shorter, calls become rare, meetings are postponed. And slowly, without anyone saying it directly, you feel it. You are alone more often than before. This is the first shock of failure. Not the loss of money, not the breakdown of plans, but the realization that presence was temporary, and what hurts most is not that people left. It's that they left so naturally, as if nothing changed. As if you didn't matter as much as you thought. You begin to replay memories in your mind, trying to understand what went wrong. But the truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes nothing went wrong with you. What changed was your situation, your energy, your usefulness in their comfort zone. And that is the part nobody teaches you. People don't always stay because of emotional depth. Sometimes they stay because it benefits their lifestyle, attention, or identity. Failure doesn't break you. It exposes your circle. Failure has a strange power. It doesn't just remove success from your life, it removes people who were connected only to your success. When everything is smooth, you can't tell who is real and who is temporary. Everyone blends into the same group of supporters. But when life gets heavy, when you are not fun anymore, not energetic anymore, not useful anymore, reality starts revealing itself. You start noticing patterns. The ones who always needed something from you slowly fade away. The ones who enjoyed your presence during good times suddenly become busy. Even your closest connections start becoming distant in subtle ways. No fight, no closure, just silence. And silence is louder than rejection because it gives you no explanation to hold on to. This is where emotional confusion begins. You start thinking maybe you did something wrong. Maybe your personality changed. Maybe you became unworthy. But often, the truth is simpler and harsher. People were never deeply invested in your struggle, only your success. They were comfortable with your light, but not your darkness. And this exposure is painful, but it is also necessary, because it forces you to see reality without filters. You are not surrounded by as many real people as you thought, and that realization becomes the beginning of emotional awakening, even though it feels like emotional destruction at first. People love easy versions of you, not heavy ones. Human connection is often based on emotional convenience. People naturally gravitate toward those who are easy to be around, those who are stable, happy, motivated, and socially light. When you are in that phase, you don't require much emotional effort from others. You uplift the room, you bring energy, you make conversations easy. But when you enter a phase of failure, everything shifts. You become quieter, more thoughtful, sometimes emotionally heavy, sometimes uncertain, and now your presence requires emotional effort from others. They need to listen more, understand more, and sometimes support more. And this is where many people step back, not because they are evil, but because they are not built for emotional responsibility. So they label it as you changed, but the truth is deeper. Your circumstances changed, and they were only familiar with your lighter version. Very few people can stay consistent when your energy is not benefiting them anymore. That is why failure feels isolating. Not because you became unworthy, but because you became real in a world that prefers convenience. And slowly you start realizing something important. Not every connection is built for depth. Some connections are seasonal, some are situational, and some are only active when life is easy. This realization can either break you mentally or mature you emotionally, depending on how you interpret it. Failure is not punishment, it is a filter. One of the deepest truths about failure is that it is not designed to destroy you. It is designed to filter your life. It removes noise. It removes distraction. It removes people who were never aligned with your real journey. When you are successful, everything feels crowded. But when you fail, everything becomes quiet, and in that quietness, truth becomes visible. This is the stage where you start asking painful questions. Why did they leave? Why did they stop caring? Was I not enough? But these questions often come from emotional attachment, not logical understanding. Because failure is not about losing people, it is about discovering who was never truly part of your foundation. And what remains after this filtering process is your real starting point. Sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's no one. And sometimes it's just yourself, but that just yourself moment is more powerful than it feels because it forces independence. It forces self-awareness. It forces growth without external validation. Most people misunderstand this phase. They think it is loneliness, but it is actually recalibration. Life removing unnecessary weight so you can rebuild without distortion. Because you cannot build a strong future on emotionally unstable connections. The silence phase, where real growth begins. After everyone leaves, something strange happens. At first, it feels empty, uncomfortable, even unbearable. You miss the noise, the attention, the presence of people around you. But slowly, that silence starts changing you. You begin to think more deeply. You begin to observe yourself more honestly. You begin to understand patterns in your life that you ignored before. This is the phase where most people either break or rebuild. Because silence does to things, it exposes weakness and it creates awareness. Without distractions, you are forced to meet your real self. No performance, no validation. No external identity. Just you and your thoughts. And this is uncomfortable because you realize how much of your previous identity depended on external approval. But at the same time, this is where real strength starts forming. Because now, every improvement you make is self-driven. Every discipline you build is internal. Every change you implement is independent. And slowly, you stop needing people to feel complete. You stop chasing explanations. You stop demanding closure. Because silence teaches you something powerful. Not everyone deserves access to your emotional world, and not every departure needs a reaction. The comeback nobody saw coming, the real transformation does not happen when people are watching. It happens when no one is there. When there is no audience, no validation, no support system to lean on. That is where you either collapse or rebuild a stronger version of yourself. And if you choose to rebuild, something powerful starts forming quietly. Discipline, clarity, emotional control, and self-respect. Over time, the same situation that once broke you becomes the foundation that strengthens you. You stop reacting emotionally to people who left. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining your journey to those who were not present during your struggle. Because your focus shifts from being understood to becoming undeniable. And then one day, without forcing anything, you notice something strange. People start noticing you again. Not because you asked for attention, but because your growth becomes visible. But by then, you are no longer the same person emotionally. You are no longer dependent on who stayed or who left. And that is the real victory. Not revenge, not anger, not proving anything to anyone, but becoming so stable within yourself that presence or absence of others no longer defines your worth. Stay safe, stay luminous.